love ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors. It's Thursday, October 2nd, an exciting edition of the show ahead over the course of the next hour. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you got a question, a comment, a concern, as always, the comments are open for any dialogue, any discussion you guys want to take this show in a certain direction. We will try our best to accommodate that. Over the course of the next hour, we will dive into a specific topic, transfer portal. We're at a good stopping point in the season right now. We've been doing a lot of looking back at ECU's first 5 games, and we're going to look back at the transfers ECU has brought in. We're also going to look ahead to their potential impact the rest of the season. And we'll also look at the outgoing transfers, names that left the program. We'll update how they're doing at their new stops. Some good, some bad. It's a good time to do that. We had a comment last week that we should check in on those transfers, so we're going to do that over the course of the show. So obviously it's always good to have guests. We'll mix in guests every now and then on this show. But I also like diving into the weeds a little bit. Obviously, it's Hoist the Colors. We do a lot of in-depth content on our website. We try to take that to the show as well. All right, I'm Stephen Igo. I've got Philip Pilkington alongside as well. And Philip, before we dive into this ECU football discussion, I want to just ask, man, how's your state of mind? What's your heart rate like as a Red Sox fan? You got Game 3 tonight, Yankees, Red Sox. How are you feeling over there?
How do you ever feel when it's 2 rookies on the mound? I don't know. First one to 7 or 8 runs is going to win. You know, I was thinking about it yesterday morning. I was like, if Boston's going to win either one of these games, they're going to have to at least score 5 runs in their win. Last night they lose 4-3, so 5 would have done it. I think also they're going to need at least one multi-run home run. Look, this is a park where there's a lot of pop, and now part of it's been they've been starting lefties, so we've had to have a heavy right-handed lineup. But with that short porch and right, you've got to take advantage of it. Boston's got to hit some more home runs last night. It's frustrating, but like the really bad play everybody was honing in on was the bad bunt by Ceddanne Rafaela. Well, that was the biggest reason Boston needed to make the playoffs, was to have the young guys get in there and make those mistakes. You know, that's a situation that's probably not a bunting situation in the regular season, but it's a bunting situation in the playoffs. Pitch was outside. He still tried to bunt it. Should have let it go. It's a teaching moment. It is what it is. There's the weird bounce at first base where it hits Massa in the rear end, and, Sogard had already rounded, or Eaton, I think, whoever it was. Sogard had already rounded third, but then by the time the ball got away from the first baseman, he had already started to go back to third. He didn't know it was going to get away, and that was just kind of an unfortunate deal. So I wasn't frustrated last night as much as just kind of disappointed. Felt like they were very much in the game, and couldn't get the hits when it mattered most. So, it is what it is. You move on. 8 o'clock tonight. The crappy thing is I got to wait 2 more hours. The good thing is Logan's show runs till 7, so I kind of needed him to start at 8.
And I will say, we were talking yesterday, I can't even remember if it was on or off the show, but you basically said the Yankees would win. And I don't know if you were telling yourself to prepare mentally for this, but
honestly, I thought they were going to score more runs than they did. I thought it was going to be like a 5 or 6 run performance from them.
Well, I'll just say this. As a fan of a team that has a bye, I'm thoroughly enjoying all of these Game 3s. As somebody who went through a wild card round a few years ago when Toronto hosted Seattle, I understand how stressful it is. So, look, I'm kind of hoping that the Red Sox pull it off, but just hoping for good baseball today. 3 Game 3s. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Although Lane Smith wants to know, should he put the Red Sox in his parlay? Any advice for Lane?
I mean, look, you got 2 rookies on the mound. Lane, there's no telling how this game is going to go. If you're going to put anything in the parlay, probably go the over 7.5 runs total. It would be my guess. I'd stay away from an outright winner. I mean, flip a coin today.
Yeah, I mean, not to get into a whole separate discussion, but it is kind of crazy that the Yankees and Red Sox are both turned to rookie starters in Game 3 with their season on the line. But this is the situations they find themselves in. All right, we'll talk more baseball in a little bit. Let's get into the transfer portal We'll start with the incoming transfers for East Carolina football. And it's been kind of an interesting class. I feel like last year's transfer class made more of a significant impact, whereas this year's transfer class, which was big, ECU brings in, I think, 25 transfers counting walk-ons.
24 according to Hoist Colors. But, yeah, if it includes walk-ons, maybe it might be 25. I don't know.
Yeah, because I know we don't have Kyler Pearson listed as a transfer for some reason. He's not in our database, but like he would make 25, and there may be a couple more. But like it seems like, before we get into the overall individuals here, but we'll kind of hit the overall, I should say. Like it's been a solid class, and I think it's been more of, hey, let's fill in the gaps more so than, all right, we need this guy to come in and be a home run hit right here. And I feel like for East Carolina, unless you just have a ton of cash infusion one offseason, this is going to be how it is more times than not. Yeah, you've had a few stud players emerge from this class, but like you don't want to just count on 5 to 10 transfers. Like, man, these guys have to hit or we are in big trouble. And I feel like ECU has hit on, as I kind of look through this list, like 10 to 12 guys being solid contributors, a couple starters, which we'll get into. But overall, I would largely call the transfer class a success, Philip, to this point versus versus a potential failure.
Yeah, look, you need guys to step into roles, right? And I know role player is not something we use a lot in football, but we didn't really need – I mean, would it be nice to have a couple superstars on defense? Sure. But at the end of the day, you had holes where you felt like you needed a starter to step in. And a lot of these guys who stepped in, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as transfers and as starters, have really let the game come to them. They have played well in the system, and maybe they don't have a lot of highlights, but they also haven't given up a lot of highlights to the opponents. And sometimes that's all you got to do as a defense is if you're not on TV a lot, that's a good thing. And I feel like our defense and a lot of these transfers have not been on TV themselves or with the guy they're supposed to be tackling.
Let's go through some of the incoming transfers, guys who are already here, who have played through ECU's first 5 games. I'll kind of hit individually and maybe group a few into positions. We'll start with the offensive line. ECU added really 2 transfers up front they were expecting to count on. Cooper Trivnaski, transfer from Division II Newberry College, and also Kyle Long, who had been a part-time starter at Maryland. Both these guys have started games for the Pirates. Kyle Long has started every game at guard. Cooper Trivnaski started the first 3 games at right tackle. Then he missed the BYU game, and he played a little bit. Played basically the entire second half at right tackle in the win over Army. Now, Trivnaski, if you look at his PFF grades, has struggled at times, and I think specifically out of the gate, he really struggled. NC State was a tough opener for a guy making the jump from D2 to D1. He has gotten better, but we've seen Bryce Weaver kind of merge in those spots, and also Kyle Long has split time with Panda Askew at left guard. So I think for the most part, Philip, these guys, look, they've come in, they've started, they've played big snaps along the offensive front. Have they been perfect? No. I do expect them to continue to get better as the season progresses, but I think it really kind of goes in line with the rest of the offensive line. Like they've been okay, but they haven't been necessarily stellar, and I think that's a decent start through 5 games.
It is. You mentioned Cooper comes up from the D2 ranks, and they obviously do a lot less complex things. A lot of those teams in the way they handle things because they don't have the resources, they don't have as many coaches, and also the guys he's blocking not nearly as big. Now Kyle Long on the other side, he comes from Maryland. He comes from the Big Ten. He's probably been the better maybe of the 2. I think Trinaski's played a little more snaps, but I think Long's maybe been a little more effective. And, this is something that takes time. You want to snap your fingers and just be good, but I think if any position takes time to gel with a new group, it's the offensive line and gel in a new system. So, especially one that's this up-tempo. I think both guys, like you said, they've done a good job, but there's a long way to go, and there's 7+ games to do it. So let's hope they can improve in the bye week, and they'll play 2 more games and then have another bye week to even improve a little more.
East Carolina also brought in Drew McCullough, Presbyterian center. He is out for the year with an injury, but it could be a guy that's just a sophomore that will get some time to maybe compete for a starting center job once he's back healthy next year. All right, looking at the receiver position, ECU brought in 3 primary receivers worth mentioning, and I would say expectations were high for all these guys. Jaquez Pettaway from Oklahoma, Tyler Johnson from Penn State, and also Peyton Mangrum from South Carolina. And for the most part, again, they've been solid. They have not been spectacular. Looking at some of the numbers here, Jaquez Pettaway started the opener against NC State, but Brock Spalding has been the more prolific player to this point. He's taken a lot of his snaps. Pettaway through 5 games. He has 9 targets and 9 receptions, but only for 27 yards. Of course, about half of those, probably more than that, have come at or behind the line of scrimmage. So 3 yards per catch. Also, Tyler Johnson has played a decent amount. He's got 4 catches for 41 yards on 9 targets as a backup receiver. Peyton Mangrum, 4 catches on 8 targets for 71 yards. So these guys, they're basically right now your second line of receivers behind Anthony Smith, Brock Spalding, and Yannick Smith. And for me, it comes down to, Philip, I think all these guys, from what I've seen in practice, can have bigger roles than they've had. But, I don't really want to take out any of my starting receivers for significant snaps right now. So, I understand what John David Baker and his staff are doing. You go with the guys who you trust. Right now, I trust the starters a little bit more. I think these guys are fine. I think they could play a bigger role if there's an injury, but, you can't really force it either, especially now that you're getting into the meteor schedule.
No, you can't. You can't force it when you're up tempo and you're trying to keep the defense from subbing. That's part of it too. If you were running more of a huddle offense and some deeper pass concepts and guys were more tired, maybe these guys would get more burn. Look, I think Tyler Johnson, kind of what we expected, right? He's came in, he's, high IQ guy. He's played well when he's gotten the opportunity to catch the football, as well as Peyton Mangrum. The head scratcher has been Jaquez Pettaway, and this is where it's really a downside that we can't talk to the coordinators, because I want to ask John David Baker. Obviously, Quez didn't have a great first game, but they didn't block for him, right? They kept throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and our outside guys couldn't move their feet well enough to stay on their blocks. So then Brock comes in. Brock has a hell of a game, and not that I want to take Brock out by any means, but you kind of wonder with Quez, is he not cutting it in practice? We see the games, but we don't see practice. And at the end of the day, if you're not doing it in practice, obviously he's not terrible because he's getting in the game and he's been solid. He had a few catches last week. But, it's right now, I just wish we could see the number 2s a little more. I'm with you. You don't want to take out the guys, but I just wish there was a little more opportunity. It seems like last year the room was a little more 4 or 5 deep, quarter in and quarter out, maybe not drive in and drive out. Whereas this year, there's clear 3 number 1s, there's clear 3 number 2s, but at the end of the day, you get into that bulk there where you gotta get Tulsa, Temple, Charlotte. Maybe you get to see a little of these guys evolve a little more, so then when you do face UTSA and Memphis there together, or Memphis and UTSA, you feel a little more, better about these guys.
Casey Romeli is in the chat. He says, I feel like we thought Pettaway was going to have a Winston Wright type impact, and it hasn't panned out. Yeah, definitely. I know John David Baker said that he felt like he thought he could be basically Winston Wright reincarnated, maybe if not a little bit more explosive. Kenny Curlin says Pettaway has not been used correctly. He has speed, but 90% on his plays of his plays are behind the line of scrimmage. Hopefully JDB will start getting him down the field more, use the speed deep. Yeah, he hasn't really gotten a shot to catch the ball down the field. That is for sure at this point. So we'll see if they drop anything coming out of the bye. All right, a few more offensive transfers we'll hit on. Parker Jenkins comes in from Houston. I think he's just been solid. 5 games, 46 carries, 137 yards rushing, 3 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He has forced a team-high 10 missed tackles, which is 4 more than any other ball carrier through 5 games, and he also has 118 yards after contact. I just think Parker's vision at times is a little off. From my perspective, he's missed a few holes, and if he can get that, I think his yards per carry will go up. And then also Mike Wright at quarterback, obviously your big quarterback addition, Phillip, just kind of hasn't really gotten a true chance to make an impact at this point. I mean, 27 snaps offensively. We saw flashes of what he can do at Coastal, but outside of that, I haven't really seen much of Mike Wright through 5 games. So anything to add on those two guys before we get a break in?
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of Mike Wright, but I think what we have seen, he's lived up to the expectations. We see that he's a high IQ guy. He's got good speed. He hasn't done anything wrong, I think, on the field. As it goes to Parker Jenkins, I think you're right. This is a guy I wonder, should we try and run the ball maybe a little outside more? Not saying that you don't have to have vision to run outside. You do. But when there's those extra steps, you have longer to make your read as opposed to inside zone. And I feel like he's been the guy who's sometimes hit the hole a little too quickly before that double team block has been worked up to the middle linebacker. With that being said, like you mentioned, when he gets hit, he doesn't necessarily go down. All the more reason to get him outside the tackles in space. I know he doesn't have the quickest first step. That probably goes to London Montgomery out of our 3 backs that we've been using. But still, I wouldn't mind getting a little more creative with him. Toss sweeps, like I said, stretch runs, and see if we can put him in maybe more position for him to be successful because maybe his weakness is running between the tackles.
Every game you learn something new about these guys. The coaches do as well, and you wonder how it'll look different coming out of the bye week. All right, we will flip our focus to the defensive side of the ball, how those transfers have made an impact after this.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Welcome back into an October 2nd edition of the program. We are talking transfer portal check-in here in a little bit. We're going to look at the transfers who left ECU, how they're doing right now. We're focusing on the guys who came in and looking at the defensive side of the ball now. I feel like you have to start with really a couple of guys who, in many ways aren't even looked at as transfers because they came back into the program but have been significant. Now, Xavier McIver had a really good opening game starting defensive tackle against NC State. He had spent his first 4 years at ECU, transferred to UT Martin, came back. He is expected back after the bye week against Tulane. And at least that's the hope from what I'm hearing. But Tegan Wilk on the back end, I had big questions about the safety depth, and I still have a little bit of questions there. ECU did bring in Ladarian Polk as well, another transfer who's played a little bit, but really it's been Tegan Wilk and Jamarly Riddle at safety, and Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios. We've talked on the show, off the show, just about we love Tegan, his personality. We had him on the show shortly after he came back to town. We were just like, man, he's got to stay healthy because we know he's a good player. And through 5 games, knock on wood, as we always do with Tegan, he has stayed healthy. And he's showing just how good he can be. I feel like him and Riddle, arguably, not that I watch every snap of American Conference football, but they've got to be up there for best safety duo in the league.
I think so. And, I think everything Tegan is, Jamarly isn't. And everything Jamarly isn't, Tegan is. And, Jamarly is your ball hawk. He is the one who sees the ball in the air. He's the one who is in charge almost when it is a pass play. And Tegan is your open field tackler. He is your get down in the box. He is your teleport from one side of the field to the other when there's a stretch run to the opposite side. And I think those guys have great communication. I think they enjoy playing next to each other. And, you can just tell the energy with those two, man. We're not out of practice a lot, but they've both got great energy. They sat there together on media day, and you could just tell they were kind of throwing jabs at each other a little bit. And I think those two are brothers, or maybe, grandpa and grandson, because I think they're calling Tegan grandpa over there in the safeties room right now. I think he's 24, 25 years old. And then, when you go back to X, it stinks that he's been hurt. Man, I hate it for him because he was so happy to be back. I remember when I walked into him, saw him for the first time on media day, and I asked him what it's like to be back, and he almost didn't have the words to put out there as to how he felt to be back in Greenville, North Carolina, back in a Pirate uniform. So fortunately, it was a quick recovery, and he only had missed a handful of games. He'd be back for conference play, but both these guys have met the expectations. I don't want to almost say exceeded because I just think my expectations for both those guys were just that high. They'd have to be at an All-American level for me to say they're exceeding my expectations because I love them both, and I'm so glad they're back.
Continuing to work our way from the front or from the back to the front, defensively. Corner, ECU, outside of Tamir Brown, really basically brought in a whole position room by transfer. So Rashid Reason came over from Old Dominion, where he reunited with Teron Williams. Chance Graves came over from Richmond, where he had also worked under Teron Williams, the cornerbacks coach. Jonathan Akins came in from Maryland. Jordy Lowry came in from Western Carolina, and the Pirates also brought in Key Crowell from Division II University of Indianapolis. Now, Jonathan Akins, I don't think, has played a single snap through 5 games. The rest of the guys have. It has primarily been Rashid Reason, Jordy Lowry, and Tamir Brown playing a lot at corner with Chance Graves and Crowell mixed in. So, we graded this position yesterday. We don't have to go super deep here, Philip, but I'll be honest, I expected a little bit more from Jordy Lowry to this point. He was an FCS All-American at Western Carolina through 4 games at ECU, 108 snaps, grading out below average in coverage. I do think maybe more consistent snaps would help him, but he's got to go out there and prove he can do it. Rashid Reason's kind of been what I expected, dependable, solid. And then, we've talked about Tamir Brown as a non-transfer, how big he's been. And I'm still expecting to see maybe more of Chance Graves, Key Crowell the second half of the year as well. So I just think this has been a solid position. They kind of covered all their bases with the portal. Some worked out, some didn't. And I think that's kind of what they expected.
Yeah, they clearly, with how many bodies they brought in, they knew that, not everybody was going to work out. But it goes back to the pregame show and what we talked about with Jim Szoke, where he said, there's not a great number 1, number 2, number 3, but number 1 to number 22 on this defense, there's not a lot of fall off. And I think the corner position has really, been the mold for that, right? You mentioned, I think, 6 names in there of guys who were playing good amount of snaps. Yeah, are they out there with 3-4 interceptions? No, but again, they're not getting burnt. They're keeping the game in front of them. They're letting the game come to them. As it relates to Jordy Lowry, yeah, it's been a little disappointing, but Jordy's a little undersized. He's listed at 5'11". I think that's a stretch. I don't think Jordy might only be an inch taller than me, and I'm not even quite 5'9". And it's just one of those. It's a much more complex defense. He's only a redshirt junior. So maybe we'll have him back next year, once you've had a full off season to kind of soak it all in. Hopefully he can improve. But, yeah, I mean, everybody, I think Rashid Reason was maybe the one I had the highest expectations for, just maybe not with the most home run plays, but just the fact that, he knows the verbiage of the coach, right? Because when you come in with a guy, there's just certain things, having that chemistry. And so I look to him to be the guy in the room just from a leadership standpoint. I think he's been that. I think he, shows that it leads by example both on and off the field, on the practice field, on the game field. And so, yeah, it's been a solid room. Am I a little worried if we, get in a bowl game and we're facing some true number one receiver? Yeah, if we run the table and we're playing Ohio State, is that a kid who's probably going to win the Heisman, going to cook any of these dudes? Yeah, probably. But right now for this conference, I just think they're letting the game come to them, and I like what I see.
One guy I want to highlight, I almost did it again. I almost forgot the nickel position again, Philip. I forgot to grade it yesterday, which we can grade it right here now since we're going to be talking about him. Jonathan Jean came in from Rice, played primarily nickel there, played some safety as well. Him and KJ Merrill, along with Alex Moy, have been primarily the nickels. Josh Benton has gotten some snaps there as well, kind of that hybrid linebacker safety position. And Jonathan Jean's played well. 5 games, 112 snaps, grading out right around average, a tick above. If you take out the NC State game, he's been above average per PFF's grading. 3 quarterback pressures. He's contributed on blitzes. He's been solid in coverage. So another guy who has just kind of been a dependable body on the back end, not necessarily a game changer. And I do give that position, as we kind of flashback yesterday, I would give it like a B-. They've been solid, but not spectacular. I don't even know if I can name a single play that they've made that really stands out outside of a TFL or two. But if they're not getting up the home run ball or busting coverage, I think ECU can live with it.
Yeah, I think they've broken down well and made some good tackles in the flash. Go back to that Campbell game. I feel like we were hearing their names, especially Jonathan Jean's name, called a lot. And they weren't necessarily the first guy there, but they did a really good job cleaning it up. I think they understand 11 halves of the football really well. Again, I'm with you there. I was thinking the same thing. B-. Jonathan Jean, he's been what we need him to be, and he's kind of more that safety body. This is a position, though, it's been a little weird. You and I talked about it before the season. We thought maybe they would kind of change the body type based off the opponent, the down and distance, and they maybe haven't rotated as much as I would like to see, and that's not a knock on Jonathan, but it's just you kind of worry if something were to happen to him, what's behind him, I mean, the other 2 guys have been solid, right, but do we trust them to be down in and down out guys? I don't yet from what I've seen. Of course, I'm not at practice every day, and it's hard to watch all 11 guys on every snap. But, yeah, B- for this group. I'm right there with you. And, look, this is kind of one of those positions. Like, don't miss tackles. Like you said, don't bust coverage, and you're doing your job. This is not the kind of position where you make a lot of those big plays. I mean, every now and again, yeah, you get sent on a corner blitz, and we need you to get the quarterback on his rear end one way or another. But I think they've done a good job.
Final few defensive names, and then we'll hit on the special teams guys as well. But really no linebackers were added in terms of inside linebackers. Now, ECU did add an edge outside linebacker, Kendrick DeJour from Sam Houston State. Through 5 games thus far, DeJour doing a really solid job. When called upon, has actually graded out amongst the highest players on defense. Just 71 snaps, but a good pressure rate, 71.5 pressure grade. 3 pressures over the course of his time at outside linebacker through 5 games. Justin Benton, similar type role along the defensive tackle position, has been solid. And then Ryan Roseborough, a Greenville kid, coming back home from JP2, where he played 8-man football, went to Towson, developed there. Now he's playing some big snaps, 100 snaps, 69 grade, which is well above average through 5 games. So again, Philip, not a ton of star power here. Xavier McIver as well in this mix, and just guys filling their role. And this is a common theme. I feel like a broken record, but I think it shows this defensive staff knows how to find players that fit their system.
They do. I think both these D linemen, they've done what they need to do, right? They're not the guy who's going to shed the block and go out there and make a tackle. But I think they've done a really good job taking on the block. And what I mean by that is they're not getting pushed back into the linebackers, and they're not allowing the linemen to get to the next level at a great rate. So when they're on the field, it just, especially these two guys, it seems like there's been a lot of those 2 and 3 yard runs, right? They've limited the explosives. They're not getting driven off the ball. They're getting stalemates at the point of attack. We can take stalemates on the defensive side of the football. They don't always have to get in the backfield. Not everybody has to be Aaron Donald. Not everybody is Aaron Donald. And so I think they've been solid. Kendrick DeJour, man, this is a guy, if the play's on the other side of the field, I really, really like him. I think that he flows to the opposite sideline really well and runs, and you mentioned his quarterback pressures. When they bring the ball his way, I think he's average. He's shed some blocks and made some tackles, but I still think he needs to have maybe a little more head on a swivel if there's a pulling guard coming his way. And like I said, I don't think he's been below average. I think he's just been average when the play comes his way, but definitely above average when the ball is sent to the other side or it's a pass. So that's where I would like to see him improve in the bye week. Like I said, above average player. I've really enjoyed watching him. I mean, no disrespect to either one of the two guys who are actually ahead of him on the depth chart, but every time he gets to the game, I was talking to Zoki and Kevin in the booth about it one of the games. It's like, man, I really thought he played well against State, and I really like this kid.
All right, final thoughts on this transfer class in the special teams department. We'll hit on this quickly because I want to get and make sure we have time to talk about the guys at new locations. But ECU really brought in 4 transfers on special teams, and they've all played significant roles. Kyler Pearson, return man, punt returner, obviously faked the field goal and scored there. Nick Mazie from New Hampshire, 12 of 12 on extra points, 4 of 6 on field goals. His only true miss coming beyond 50 yards. The other one was blocked. Tristan O'Brien, long snapper from Indiana State. He's done his job. And then Ryan Levy's been solid transfer from Duke. So, I feel like everybody brought in. You got to give credit to Ryan Smith, the special teams coordinator, the whole staff here, Philip, for, look, you want competition at every one of these spots, but you also hit on guys that have stepped in right away and done a nice job.
Kyler Pearson's been a dog back there too.
He really has
technically
been much
he's not a special teams guy. He's not a specialist, but he's getting in the game on special teams. Yeah, I just think overall, like we said yesterday, the special teams has been solid. Nothing phenomenal, but the guys who were got to put the boot to the ball have done that consistently. I don't think we've got our Justin Tucker out there kicking the ball, but at the end of the day, when you're a college team, you just want a guy who from anywhere from a chip shot to 40 yards, 45 yards can just be consistent. It's what this team's been. Punting, like you said, Levy's been good, or Levy's been good, excuse me. He's even got a pass attempt and a pass completion, so we like that. I love his hang time. I think we saw it during the first game especially. I remember talking to Andrew about it. Sometimes these guys go out there and they got these strong legs and they out-kick their coverage, and I just think he's got great hang time, and we haven't had any times that I can remember. I didn't see every snap of the Coastal game, obviously, though, where he's out-kicked the coverage. So great job by these guys, and hopefully they continue to be successful, because usually you only remember when they're not successful.
All right, there's your look at the ECU transfer class, the incoming class. On the other side, we'll focus on the guys who left. Names like Isaiah Brown-Murray, Gavin Gibson, C.J. Mims, Zakai Barker, Chase Sowell. What are they up to this season at their new locations? We will talk about that and much more after this.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Hoist the sail!
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Ahoy, me hearties!
Back to Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, third segment here. It's our transfer portal check-in during ECU's bye week. We talked about the transfers that came in this offseason, what impact they've made. Let's look at some of the guys that have transferred out and where they have gone, what they have done. Philip Pilkinen, back in the 94.3 The Game studios, weighing in as well. Feel free to drop your comments, too, on the transfer class, outgoing, incoming, whatever you want. All right, we'll start with a familiar name, Chase Sowell. He's at Iowa State now, and his season really got off to an extremely slow start. He, through the first 4 games, had just 4 catches and 2 drops for the Cyclones, who are a very good football team. I think still unbeaten, I believe, and potentially a Big 12 title contender. Now, in the most recent game against Arizona after a bye week, Sowell had 2 big catches and finished the day with 4 grabs for 146 yards. So through 5 games, Sowell, 8 catches, 178 yards, 22.3 yards per catch, does have a pair of drops. And, their coach, Matt Campbell, was saying that he was their best player in the offseason before he got injured. I guess it's kind of more of a wait-and-see thing. But you're talking about a guy, Philip, who caught 34 balls for 678 yards and 3 scores last year at ECU. He now has 8 catches for 178 yards through 5 games. So still a wait and see, but I don't know. So, maybe I don't know if he'd come back. I don't know if ECU would let him come back, but just kind of a weird start to his Iowa State career. It
is, and you mentioned the drops. We knew that was going to happen. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is.
Yeah, he had some tough times.
Yeah, I think he's happy to be back in the Big 12. That's where he started. He started at Colorado. When you tell yourself you're a Power 4 guy, you want to be there. And look, the offense, I feel like as a whole for them hasn't clicked extremely well. It's not been bad, like you mentioned. They are 5-0, so they're playing good football right now. But there's just some things they can improve on. Kind of a low-scoring game against Arkansas State. I think as the offense gets a little more in their flow, they could be in a little better spot. I want to say their bye is upcoming, they just had one week 4.
They just had one, yep.
Yeah. So and then they play Cincinnati this week. Then they get another bye before they go to Colorado, and then got BYU and Arizona State at home. So they're gonna have to get right offensively before they host BYU and Arizona State.
Colorado revenge game coming up for Chase Sowell. He was basically running out of that. Yeah, that'll be a big one. All right, Austin P. A few former Pirates are there, including Javius Bond. How about the Javius Bond? We were so hyped for this guy, and they just couldn't stay healthy. So he went to Austin P as a defensive back originally. How about the first game of the year? He was playing offense and defense he was going full-on Travis Hunter. He played 18 snaps against Middle Tennessee, a game which they won, by the way, at safety, and he played 24 snaps at running back. Now, I'm not sure exactly what happened after that. I'm guessing he got hurt. Looking at his snap count, he played 3 snaps against Georgia in Week 2, 1 snap against Morehead State in Week 3, and then his snap count has since gone up, 15 at Abilene Christian and 26 against, I think, Utah Tech, based on what I'm seeing. And his numbers are good. Look, he hasn't had a ton. He's had 18 carries, 145 yards, 8.1 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He also had a big punt return as well earlier this season. So it's good to see Javius healthy, man. I think we're all pulling for him because we know what a talent he can be, Phillip.
Yeah, he's just an athlete. Not really. I mean, well, I shouldn't say not really surprised to hear he's playing both sides of the ball. You are. But his athleticism definitely suits it. You know, he's a guy who can learn the offense and defense. I think they always liked him as a high IQ guy. So best of luck, and, you know, hopefully he can go on to continue his football career. I can't remember. He's got a year of eligibility left, right? Or at least have 2?
At least. I think he ended up redshirting last year.
Okay.
So he should have at least – he may have 2 more after this year, I believe is what it is.
Yeah, so, you know, this is a young man who maybe can make his way back up the ladder, get out of the FCS ranks. Nothing against, you know, the governors there at Austin Peay, but I'm sure he would like to, get back into FBS football. Like I said, if his body will hold up, he's definitely got the talent. So glad to hear he's seems to be, being successful there.
Glad for Javis Bond because, it all comes down to health for him. If he's healthy, he's on the field, he's a player. All right, over in Chapel Hill, things aren't going too well for Bill Belichick, but they are kind of going well for 2 former Pirates who, honestly might be the best. They may be the best players on the entire team, which I think is a reflection upon the UNC roster. Nothing against CJ Mims or Gavin Gibson, who are both very solid college football players, but these 2 guys are playing prominent snaps for the Tar Heels, and they were both, Gibson was definitely a prominent player by the end of the year. Mims was a backup who probably would have started this year, but even then would have probably been a rotating end. So Mims threw 4 games for UNC. He started 3. He's played 120 snaps, grading out at 70.2 on a scale of 0 to 100, which is very good for PFF, primarily doing his job as a run defender. Gavin Gibson, in a secondary that has been torched at times, has played 4 games for UNC, all starts, 204 snaps, grading out at 74.1, doing really good in coverage with a 75.2 grade. So, look, I know some fans are... Look, they're not fans of these guys because they went to North Carolina, and I get it. Anybody transfers to NC State or North Carolina from ECU, you're going to hear it. I understand that, but I don't blame them for taking the bag. Do they regret going to a place that seems kind of like it's in shambles and they're probably not going to win a whole lot? I don't know. You'd have to ask them, but they're probably getting paid a pretty penny, and they're honestly playing well and putting up good film for maybe their next stop, Phillips. So I as somebody who got to know CJ Mims pretty good, happy for him that he's doing well, and Gibson seems like a fine guy as well. And so at least they're doing well if the team is not.
Yeah, and I think that, you mentioned film for the next stop. I think both of them do have a year of eligibility left, right? CJ was a sophomore last year. Same with Gavin. So, I know it stinks they went to Carolina, but, I feel like this is the best case scenario for Pirate fans, right? They go, they're playing well, and the rest of the team's dog water. I mean, it's perfect, right? And then maybe they can go on and be successful somewhere else.
Yeah, because UNC, by the way, UNC Clemson this weekend. Have zero desire to watch that game.
I have all desire to watch that game. I want to see the tomfoolery that is that game. I mean, Pirates are on a bye. Duke doesn't play till 10:30 because they're out in Berkeley. So, yeah, give me Clemson, North Carolina at noon, baby. I'm here for it. Somebody's going to lose, and it's going to be funny, whoever does.
Clemson, a 14-point favorite as of this morning. We may have to pick that game tomorrow. All right, another guy who went to a bad situation in the ACC, but has honestly played pretty well. Isaiah Brown-Murray, former ECU starting cornerback. He went to the Hokies. He has started all 5 games at corner. Now, he has played a little bit. He was practicing in the slot. I think they were projecting him there, and then he's ended up playing outside corner, which is what he did at ECU. He's basically been the same Isaiah Brown-Murray he was at ECU. Really solid, dependable player. He's played 208 snaps. He has great grades. I shouldn't say great, good grades. He's graded out 67.5 in coverage, 70 overall defensively, both solid metrics. He has allowed 1 touchdown. He has 0 interceptions and 0 pass breakups. He's just a guy who he's where he needs to be. He keeps plays in front of him. He makes open field tackles, and he's doing that for the Hokies. He played 60 snaps in the win over NC State. So at least he got to experience a win over the Wolfpack, Philip, because he opted out before the bowl game. So I guess he got to taste it this year.
Good to see a guy being successful in another school. I mean, like we said, he's never going to be the shutdown corner, but he lets game come to him. He sees the field well, I think he does a good job of knowing what the offense is trying to do, and therefore he usually grades out pretty high. So good for him.
IBM doing his thing in Hokie land. All right, a few other guys just to mention here. We'll start with Zakai Barker. Linebacker, obviously, was a key part of ECU's defense a year ago. Now he has been banged up at SMU. So he started the opener against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, I believe. I guess that's who they played. He played 21 snaps, and then against Baylor he played 12, and he hasn't played since. He's dealing with an injury. He's only played 33 snaps through 2 games, so that's kind of a TBD situation, Philip. I think we all love Zakai. We know what he means, what he meant to last year's defense, but with his size, I'm honestly not surprised that he's struggling to stay healthy early this year in the ACC.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was watching one of their games early, and he was flowing to the football well, didn't look bad. And, it's unfortunate that he can't stay healthy. So hopefully, the back end of the schedule, still a lot of the season to go, he can get it figured out. But I think he's got the talent to play at this level. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just, like you said, the size. And, man, those pulling guards in the ACC, man, they'll come out and they'll knock your block off if you don't see them coming.
A few other names here I'll run through. Jordan Huff is playing a pretty big role at safety at Georgia State, has started all of their games, doing a good job on the back end. Could have been a guy that provided some safety depth at ECU if he stayed, but I understand he wanted to go start somewhere. Andrew Wilson-Lamp and Dontavius Nash, those 2 cornerbacks. Wilson-Lamp went to Toledo. He's played like 5 defensive snaps through a handful of games. Dontavius Nash has not played a snap at Michigan State, so not sure exactly what's going on there. Eric Fletcher went to Oklahoma State, another terrible situation. He followed Jules Montanar. He's played, I think, 3 snaps, but hey, he's probably getting paid a decent amount because he's playing for Oklahoma State. So 3 corners haven't played a whole lot. Jake Garcia, he went to Michigan, and Philip, he made an appearance against the Central Michigan Chippewas. He took 6 snaps. You did. He took 6 snaps, and I guess he got to kneel it out because he had 3 carries for -9 yards. He has not thrown a pass.
Hey, man, best formation's victory formation. He got to be out there for it.
This is true. Jake Garcia doing his thing. And do we have time to check on our old buddy Luke Larson? Larson.
Yeah, let's do it. We can do a quick Luke Larson segment.
Luke Larson is at Villanova. He has punted They do. He has punted 19 times, and guess what? He is averaging 40.5 yards per punt because that is almost the exact number he averaged at ECU. He averaged 40.8, 40.9, 40.4 over the previous 3 years, and he's averaging 40.5 yards per punt with the Wildcats. So there's your Luke Larson update. And it's always fun to see where these guys land. Luke Larson, I think, on his, 7th year of college football?
Something
6th
like
year,
that.
okay, excuse me. 6th year, but he's like 40 years old.
Yeah, well, there's probably some more people in Philly his age. I feel like there's not a lot of people his age in Greenville. They're either younger or older than him. Not a lot of people. I guess you were his age. You should have hung out with Luke Larson, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm his exact age, and he is still playing college football. It's incredible.
And
but
you're married
good for
with
him,
2
man.
kids.
Exactly. He's an Aussie. He's enjoying life. He got to spend time in Greenville. Now he's in Philly, so good
He's a
for him.
good dude.
Yeah, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll talk maybe some MLB. I know we got some questions in the chat. I may have to table those until Friday's show, but I got you, Matt, and I got you, Corsair, as well. So we may answer those Friday, but we'll come back. We'll talk MLB playoffs to wrap up the show after this.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
My hair is definitely a reflection of who I am. Wild, fun, fiery for sure.
It just goes with the flow.
Me and my hair, both untamable.
I wear it how I feel.
Feel fearless.
Feel empowered. Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Feel unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
Like all pirates, Stephen Igo is loyal and bold. He may also have a touch of scurvy. Back to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Final segment here, Hoist the Colors on a Thursday. We've talked a lot of transfer portal, who came in, who left, over our first three segments. If you missed any of it, check it out. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube archive as well. All right, MLE playoffs. We got a few minutes. It's a huge day. It always is if the playoffs are going on, but today specifically, if you have not watched, highly advise you to watch today's action. Winner take all, 3 separate games of the wild card round. You got Detroit, Cleveland at 3 o'clock. You have San Diego, Chicago Cubs at 5, and you have Boston and New York at 8. We'll start first with Detroit, Cleveland. This has been until the bottom of the 8th last night, has been a series where there's been like no runs scored. Or excuse me, yesterday afternoon, I was texting my former intern, Mac, who's a Guardians fan. He's just like, man, I'm ready for this to be over so I don't have to watch this offense anymore. And I was like, man, it's not over till it's over. Just the Guardians' goal is to go into the bottom of the 8th or the bottom of the 9th and have the game tied at 1 and just wait for a miracle to happen offensively, because they're probably the least talented offensive team outside of Steven Kwan, Jose Ramirez. But this has been a pretty electric playoff series to watch, Philip. Today you got Ciccone versus Flaherty. Maybe there's some more runs scored today, but these two teams are probably sick of facing each other. One will move on, and one season will end today.
Yeah, I think they've played now. Today will be the 10th time in the last 16 days or 17 days. I mean, it's ridiculous how much they've played. Cleveland doesn't have the best lineup, but they are very good at finding ways to win. They've been good at finding ways to win for the last month and a half. So, Detroit won the first game, and never in the best 2 out of 3 wild card series has the team who won the first game ever gone on to lose the series. It's probably going to happen today for one of them, and I think this is the most likely, probably followed by Boston, and then I think the Cubs will win. But, yeah, I mean, it's fun, right? I'm just glad the games are short. It's really fun. First game was a pitcher's duel, and it was phenomenal. Yesterday was decent, and today, if it's not a little more high scoring, it's going to be a snooze fest, because I don't think the pitchers should be out there painting.
Yeah, and look, if there's a team that is going to lose for the first time ever the wild card round, it would be this year's Detroit Tigers, because they have choked all season. And then if there's a team that's going to overcome the odds, it would be the Guardians because of what they had to overcome. Am I wrong as a Mariners fan to be hoping for the Guardians here just because I don't have to, if it's the Tigers, they probably have to face Skubal twice in 5 games, and I just think that's tough.
Why is it wrong? You want to give yourself the best opportunity to win, of course.
Yeah.
Go with what you got to go with.
But the Guardians, they seem to have that magic right now, but we'll see what happens.
That guy Gavin Williams isn't bad. Their ace either. He's not Skubal, but he's good.
Yu Darvish versus James Taillon, the matchup Padres-Cubs. Do you think the Cubs bounce back today?
I think so. I think there's a lot of energy in Wrigley. This has honestly been the best environment out of the 4.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. San Diego just...
It just all comes down to Machado and Tatis, right?
Yeah. I mean, their offense, though, has just not been that explosive this year. They got Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, and it just... I don't know, man. They lack something offensively. I can't put my finger on what it is, but it's just not all clicking.
Elite bullpen, though. So the Cubs need to score early because Mason Miller coming in throwing 104.5 miles per hour. I mean, what is that? Like, how do you even deal with that?
I don't know. I don't know how you see it, much less hit it.
Yeah, so, and then, of course, Red Sox-Yankees tonight. Final prediction, Yankees, Red Sox, who you got?
Well, when I filled out my playoff bracket, I picked the Sox, so I'm going to stick with the Sox. I think their bats finally wake up. I'm going to go 7-5 Boston.
I'm going to say Boston gets it done, too. I was texting with James Gilliam earlier. I told him it'd be the most Yankees thing and his fandom thing ever. It's for the Yankees to win, tease them a little bit, and then lose the final game of the series.
Poor James.
That's what
he does
happens.
have it rough, but I ain't going to feel bad for him tonight if it goes our way. I can tell you that.
No doubt. All right, we are out of time, and this was a fun show once again. Appreciate everybody's comments. I know we got a few questions towards the end. I have screenshotted those, and we'll try to get to them tomorrow. Johnny Stats, by the way, point out Omega Blake, one-time former Pirate, having a nice season for Arkansas, so want to throw that in there as well. All right, we will see you tomorrow at 12 noon. Bobby Harward in studio. We'll make our picks. We'll also discuss more, take another look at ECU Tulane as well. We'll see you then.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Get a recap of this show at 90.